Hello guys, if you watched my last video I had, it was where I was leaving Cincinnati after some tragic events and went to Montana. The reason I went to Montana is my father had gotten promoted to vice president of a mercantile company, a chain of department stores in Montana, and there was like the country was divided in half. He had like the western half and somebody else had the eastern half. It was a big promotion for him, and my whole family moved out there. And so when I left school, university, dropped out, and the whole thing I talked about in the last video about getting knifed. My girlfriend and I had broken up. I thought this was a girl I was going to marry. We've been together for a couple of years. And I just wanted to get away. I just had to get away. And, you know, I was looking to escape. And Montana seemed like a great place. I remember that my father had bought a coffee table book on Montana. And I was going through it and all these beautiful mountains and rivers. And it just seemed like, you know, such a tranquil, wonderful place. I just wanted to go there. So called my parents up, said I just want to come home and go there. And they said, okay. And I could have driven my car. Nothing wrong with the car. It had a bullet hole in the back, but and a dented door from the fight. But aside from that, it was a perfectly good car, a 66 Car McGee. I wish I'd kept it, worth a lot of money today. But I got on a plane instead and flew to Montana. And got there, and my parents had, my father bought a beautiful home. It was halfway finished when he bought it. And like somebody bought it and then decided to change, or built it and to change their mind before they finished it. So my dad bought it and finished it. It was a big A-frame house on 3 levels, beautiful views of the mountains, and with a place called Rimrocks in Billings, Montana, which at the time was a very prestigious place to live. This is in the 70s, so, and that house back then was like $700,000, so it wasn't a cheap house. And they gave me a room at the lower level, kind of my own, almost the whole level was to myself, because the other bedrooms are on the higher levels. And it just felt really uncomfortable, because you've been away, you had your own place, you know, in university, you know, even though it's a dorm room. And I had an apartment for a while too, in Cincinnati the last year I was there. So to have your own place and then go to live with your parents again is kind of a real, you know, gut to the ego, punch to the ego. But anyway, my father helped me get a job, because back in the 70s, it was hard to get jobs. You didn't just, you know, go get a job the way you do nowadays, or, you know, everybody's hiring. Like then, you know, even the fast food places weren't hiring. You had to really look around for a job. Well, my father got me a job working for the contractor who built our house. And this is, like I said, is a very nice upper class neighborhood. And they were building these big, beautiful homes there. You know, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes in the 70s, which would probably be, what, $1 million homes today. And my job was to pick up the trash on the construction sites in this big flatbed truck. And it had, like, you know, sides on it, and I would go to the construction site and pick up all the wood and scrap and whatever there was there, and then I had to drive it to the dump, which was like probably 15, 20 miles outside of town. And you go in there and throw all the stuff there and then drive away and pay a certain fee to do it. And that was my job, you know, to basically pick up the trash, and I did that all day long, because it's a big construction site. I'd had the job for a couple of weeks. I remember the contractor seemed to be a decent guy. He had a phone in his car, which back then was just, you know, so impressive. I don't know how it worked, but it was some kind of a radio phone type thing. And he used to love to pick it up and make calls, and people were watching him so that he could impress you. Anyways, one day I'm working on cleaning up the yard in the house, and it's literally the next street over from our house. Like our backyard faced the backyard of that house. And we had like a big deck. You see the mountains and the cliffs and everything back there. And so I loaded up the truck with all the garbage and stuff. It's always a garbage. It was like, you know, scraps of wood, things like that. It's all loaded up. And this is a stick shift diesel truck. And I could drive pretty much anything back then. And I was maybe 19, 20 years old at the time. And in the back of this house that they were building, and almost, it was like 99% finished, the house. There was a hill of dirt, like a big pile of dirt that was probably, I don't know, 3 feet high and, you know, 7 feet in diameter. I don't know why it was there. Probably going to be moved eventually. But anyway, in order to back up out of that lot, I had to keep going forward, backward, and roll up onto that the hill, which was on the front of the truck. So I'd go up on this little hill, and then back and up and back, trying to turn the truck around so I could get out of the lot and take it to the dump. And so you're working the clutch and the gas, and the brake, shifting. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I don't know if my foot slipped off the brake or what, but the truck rolled backwards, just like, 3 feet. It was very tight, the space, and it smashed into the back of the house, brick house. Knocked a hole this big in the house. And I looked in my rearview mirror, and there's the lady that was building the house, and she's screaming, oh my God, And lost that job. So that was like an omen that things weren't gonna work out there. I met a guy, started hanging out with. His wife was like a buyer at one of my dad's stores. They were like in their 30s. Nice couple. His name was Lee, and he owned a flower shop, but he was like a mountain man. Think a Grizzly Adams type guy. Hunter, fisherman, all that stuff. Anyway, they invited me over to their house one day because they knew I didn't know anybody. And so I went over there, had to borrow my brother's car. My father had given my brother and my sister his Delta 88, which was his, pride and joy when he was a manager of a department store in Cincinnati. And he'd handed that down to my sister Connie and my brother Eric to drive to share. Then my sister was back in Cincinnati. She was a Cincinnati Bengals cheerleader. And so it was Eric's car, more or less. But since I was there, I kind of got to use it when I needed it, but Eric had dibs on it, basically. So anyway, I was over at Lee's house, and I met this girl that worked for my father in the cosmetics department. Pretty, blonde girl, blue eyes, nice girl, in her 20s, whatever, a little older than me. We kind of hit it off, and I asked her out. She'd want to do something, one night. Of course, I didn't have much money. I forget where. I don't even remember where we went to start off with. It was like maybe you went to a bar or nightclub, listened to some music, had a couple of drinks. Didn't get drunk or nothing, had a couple of drinks. And it was winter time by then. And I remember it was snowing a whole lot, a lot of snow. And Montana, they don't even plow the roads and buildings. They just let the snow, accumulate. And so after we're in the club, and that night we left, and we wanted to go someplace to make out. That's what we did back then. And so I don't know the area really. Like I've only been there for like a month or so. And so we're driving around. I find outside of Billings, and I see this, gravel road which is covered with snow. These ranch roads, they're like all over out in the West. I said, well, that looks like a good place to park. So we go down this road, and it's nighttime. I don't know, maybe 11:30, 12 o'clock, something like that. I go down about a quarter mile, and it dead ends. Doesn't go any farther. It dead ends at like one of those fences. The cow, what do they call them? The cow walks. The bars in the ground where the cows can't walk across. And then it's got a gate there, which was locked. So I'm kind of stuck there, So it's okay. This will do. Turn off the engine. We get in the back of the car, have some fun. Both enjoy ourselves. Windows are all steamed up, of course. And then it comes time to leave. So we climb back over the seats into the front seat, start the car up, and realize like the only way I'm going to get out of there is to go backwards, like a quarter mile on this gravel road in the snow. Of course, there's snow all over the back of the car. The snow's coming down like those great big flakes, like the size of pennies. But it's not real heavy. It's not snowing fast. It's just like, coming down gently. But there's already probably 6 inches to a foot of snow out there. And so I start, put the car in reverse, and I'm turning around, looking through the mirror, driving, straight back. doing pretty good, you know. And as a stupid young guy, I'm going a little too fast, you know, maybe 10 miles an hour, I don't know. Anyway, I get towards the intersection of the main road and where this gravel road comes, and I turn the wheel so that I can go back onto the road, and somehow the car slides, and it's pointing the right way towards the main road, but I'm stuck in the snow back. It's a rear wheel car, you know, big old heavy Delta 88. Wheels are spinning, and so, you know, we're stuck. Oh, great. Don't know what to do. It's late at night. And then out there in Montana, if you've ever been there, at night, like it's nothing. It's like you're on, you know, in a deserted planet. And this girl, like, she's totally calm about the whole thing, not freaking out or anything, you know, just, you know, not complaining. Really nice girl. So finally, I see some lights in the distance. And they come along, and it's a pickup truck. And I don't know where he came from, but he had, I guess, seen our headlights and wondered what we were doing back there or something. And he comes along and rolls down and goes, "Hey, what's going on?" So, "Oh, I'm stuck." "Oh, that's not a problem, I'll get you out." And he's got his cowboy hat and his boots and stuff. And in the back of his truck, he's got this chain, real long chain with a hook on it. And he hooks it up to the back of his truck and tosses it to me. So, "Hook it on there, I'll pull you out, no problem." So I take it and I hook it onto the front bumper of the Delta 88. And we get back in, start the car up. The guy starts pulling forward and our car starts moving. Then it's boom. And it pulled the bumper right off. Front bumper just popped right off. And it's kind of bent. And we're still stuck. And he goes, "No, son, you got to hook it to the frame." "I wish you would have told me that sooner." So I hook it to the frame. He pulls us out. We're on the main road. And "Thank you very much, sir." And off he goes. And so I leave the bumper wouldn't fit in the trunk. It wouldn't fit in the back seat. And so I leave it on the side of the road. Figure, well, we'll get it later or something. I don't know what to do. Of course, it's got the license plate on it. Another bad move. So with the girl, I don't know why I did this. I should have just called it a night and taken her home. But for some reason, I took her back to my dad's house because I had, you know, lower levels, all private. I had my own interest in everything, so nobody even knows what's going on. So I take her down there. She's not in my bedroom. We're on a sofa in like a lower living room area there. And we're making out, fooling around. All the lights come on. It's my dad. And embarrassing for her because she works for him. He's like the big boss, and he's in his, you know, underwear. He's all pissed off. And so I take her home, and then, of course, he finds out about the bumper. He's even more mad. And my brother's mad, and everybody's mad at me. And it's just like, from the time I got there, actually from the time like before I went to university, even though I didn't really want to go to university, the reason I went there is my father wanted me out of the house. I just knew that. You can sense it, like, you know, because he had me when he was 19 years old. My mother was 18. And he just thought that you turn 18, you're on your own, you're out of the house. He just wanted me gone. And so I was constantly thinking, where am I going to go? What am I going to do, you know? And that's kind of how I was feeling there. Well, Lee, I started hanging out with Lee a little more. And Lee and my dad, actually, you know, Lee kind of brought us together. We said, let's all go fishing. And so Lee picked us up, me and my dad. We kind of, you know, mended the fences, but the tension was still there. And Lee picked us up in his Toyota Land Cruiser, like 1960 something, maybe early 70. It had to be I graduated in 74, so it could have been like a 69 or something. But this thing, it had like that lime green paint color that you find some kinds in Texaco stations, that color, kind of faded. But everything about this Land Cruiser was in perfect condition. The tires, the engine, the interior, everything worked, nothing was broken. It was a well-maintained vehicle and a really cool vehicle that'd probably be worth a lot of money today. And he had this great big raft strapped onto the roof. And so we all piled in with our fishing equipment. He had a big cooler full of ice and Coors beers, and there were some sandwiches and stuff too. And so we get in the car, and he drives like 20 miles upstream on the Virgin River. not the Virgin River, the Yellowstone River, outside Billings. Drive away up there, parks the truck, we unload the raft, put all the stuff in there, and we had a couple paddles, and we just shove off into the river. And if you ever seen the Yellowstone River, it's like crystal clear water. You can look down and see the color of the stones and see the fish there. And it's not a very wide river, and it's gentle. It's not a real fast flowing river. You're just gently floating down the river. Spectacular scenery everywhere you go. And we're using Rapala lures, which look like minnows, and fishing poles. And we're literally just catching trout. Like it's like no effort at all. And in no time, we've got, the cooler full of trout, drinking Coors beers. Everything's going great. I'm using my dad's favorite fishing pole. And we hit like a little rapid, like a little bump or something. The raft goes up like that. And I had set the pole down on the back of the raft there while I was getting a beer or something, and like this, and there goes my dad's favorite fishing pole. Another strike against me. So we make it back, we make it 20 miles down the river after an all-day trip. Great fun, caught a lot of fish. Pulled over, and then what we did is, we'd done this before. We hid the raft, in the bushes there, and then we hitchhiked, like me hitchhiking to Florida, remember that? And my dad used to hitchhike when he was young too. I never mentioned that before. And we hitchhiked easily, got back to the Toyota, and then drove back, picked up the Jeep, and the day was over. Only we went and cooked the fish, which were delicious. But it just keeps, the tension between me and my dad is going more and more. And as much as I love Montana, I knew I had to do something. I didn't have a job in New York because of running the truck to the house. And I was watching TV, and I see this ad on TV for the Navy. It's not a job, it's an adventure in a ship. And something clicked in my brain, well, wow, that's what I should do. I should join the Navy. So I went down to the recruiter's office. We found the bumper, by the way, and got it put back on, but it was kind of crooked. Went down to the recruiting office and talked to them and everything. They had me take some tests. I remember that. And I did really well in the tests, really well. And they said, well, you did well in the test, you can have what's called our guaranteed job program. They're really trying to recruit back then. Remember, this is like, the Vietnam War ended in 74, I believe. This is like 76 or 7. And so I think the military was having a hard time recruiting guys back then. So they were having all kinds of special programs. And this guaranteed job program was if you were, the right stuff, they would guarantee you whatever job it was you picked. And I picked quartermaster. I don't know why I picked quartermaster. I don't think I know what a quartermaster is, but it sounded like a cool job. And so I tell my father, hey Dad, I decided to join the Navy. And he's thrilled, just thrilled, He was in the Coast Guard back during the Korean War. And he's thrilled, so a few weeks later, I go there, and I'm trying to remember how I went to San Diego's where I went for basic training. It was at Balboa Island. I don't remember how I got there, whether it was a plane or a bus. I just don't remember. This is over 40 years ago. So I got to, the recruiting place, Balboa Island, and it's the usual thing, they're running you through and you're doing all this shit and stenciling your name on your uniforms and staying up all night, waking up early in the morning. And they put me, because of my scores, they put me in what's called a drill company. A drill company is where you do the flag, or a flag is called flag company. You have these flags, whenever there's events, like special events, they send the flag company there and you spin the flags around, have the white rifles, you spin those around and put on shows, basically. And so I was in that company. The problem was they put me in there late. I was like 3 days behind. The other guys had already been there. And the first few days when you're in your very first company, very first time you ever been in the Navy, they teach you some basic stuff like how to fold your clothes. Very important. It's got, like your socks have to be rolled a certain way, then doubled over, and your underwear and all your shirts. You learn how to iron your shirts with a soap dish and all this stuff. And I don't know how to do any of this because nobody showed me. So I'm trying to copy the other guys. There's all this stress. You have like no time to do stuff. And it was like 3 days in, I'm trying to put the clothes came in a big pile in the middle room. They just kind of throw it in the middle room. You got to get your stuff out, get it folded, put away. And other guys are real quick at it because they've done it before, and I'm slow at it because I didn't know how to do it. And they take us outside, then they have a barracks inspection. And they go in, they see my stuff, it's all fucked up, it's not right. Whose locker is this? It's me. And they said, they sentenced me to a short tour. And short tours were these guys with these blue helmets and yellow stripe. They take all the guys that got in trouble in this big room, and they exercise you for 4 hours straight, nonstop. Push-ups, 8-count bodybuilders, squat thrusts, sit-ups, whatever, for 4 hours. You're literally, when you're done, you're just dripping with sweat. I remember there was, one was a big black guy, and the other one was just like this big burly guy. And the way I got through it is I just looked at him, in the eye like, fuck you, and you're not gonna stop me, and I'm gonna get through this no matter what, and I got through with anger, put it that way. And I was pissed off about, the whole thing. So I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my fault they didn't teach me, So, because of that, you get so many demerits, that's what it is. If you get so many demerits, you get held back, and you start boot camp all over again. And things are going okay, I was slowly getting better at folding my clothes. And one morning we're at breakfast, chow, whatever you want to call it, and this guy's sitting next to me, another black guy, but this has nothing to do with race, okay? I want to make that real clear right now. I have nothing to get. My roommate in college, by the way, was a black guy named Kim. I was the only white guy that was asked to join, I think it was called Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, the black fraternity, the University of Cincinnati. And I didn't join, the only reason was I just didn't want to be in any fraternity. But I hung out, all of my friends were black, and not all my friends, but a lot of my friends were black. So this has nothing to do with race. It's just, he just happened to be black. Anyway, this guy sits down next to me, and I don't know what, he just starts mouthing off or whatever, I don't know why. And it's 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it is. He says, hey motherfucker, why don't you go get me a cup of tea? I said, go get your own cup of tea, asshole. He said, oh, you want to fight? And I said, yeah, you throw the first punch, fucker. And I got a cup of coffee here. He obviously doesn't have a cup of tea. And he punches me like that. I mean, not hard, just like in the shoulder. And I was just angry about a lot of things. And it's just, something snapped. And I took my coffee right in his face. And he jumps up, and I jump up. The tables flip over. This is a big mess hall with maybe 200 or 300 men in there. And so we're gonna fight. And he tries to charge me, and I've got the coffee cup in my hand with my finger through the ceramic coffee cup like this. And he comes through and smash him on the side of the head with it. The coffee cup breaks, cuts his ear practically off. And we throw a few more punches, they break it up. The guys with the blue helmets and the yellow stripes come and take us away. And we go to what's called Captain's Mast. And so this guy goes in to the captain, lies his ass off. I go into the captain and tell the truth, what happened. And I think in the military, when you show that you're willing to fight, they kind of like that. Because I got the feeling that they weren't really that upset about it. They weren't really mad at me. So they took me out of my company. We were in the same company. I don't know what they did with him, I never found out. And they put me in another company, just a regular company. And again, I get there and they had already started too, like they were several weeks in already in their training. Even though I was supposed to start over, I was in that company and they were several weeks in. And that company commander decides from day one, he fucking hates me. I don't know why, he just hates me. Maybe it's because of the fight, I don't know. But every time he'd inspect my stuff, he would find something wrong. Like one time, there's an eagle on your hat, and he twisted the eagle, I guess earlier in the day, so when they came in and inspected, oh look, the eagle's crooked. There's the demerit, there's the demerit. And in basic training, we had you call it your UA drawer. It's like a little drawer when you have a padlock on it, and you're allowed to keep your personal stuff in there, like, your wallet, your cigarettes, your lighter if you smoke, your Bible, whatever. And while I was in basic training on Sundays, when I was in the other company, you had a choice on Sunday morning to stay in the barracks and cleaning it or going to church. You choose. And when you come out of the barracks, there were all these churches lined up, and they had big signs like Baptist, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, whatever, lined up there. And so I was trying like different ones, just to have something to do. And they had LDS, the Mormons, or Church of Latter-day Saints is what they call themselves. And so I'd gone to that, and they were very nice to me, had cookies in there and Kool-Aid and stuff, kind of like kindergarten. And they asked me if you were baptized, and I said, no, I'm not baptized. Well, you need to get baptized. You want to get baptized? Yeah, sure, you can baptize me. And they came and took me out of basic training on it. It wasn't even a Sunday, it was a regular day. They were able to get me out. And we went to the church. I remember there was this big bathtub type thing. And I get in there, they put a white robe on me, and they take me down under the water and said some things. And they all laid hands on me. And boom, I'm a Mormon. Which I didn't feel any different. So they gave me a Book of Mormon, Principles of the Gospel, and a Bible. It was like a little gift. And so I had put those in my UA drawer. Well, this guy, he's doing the barracks inspection. It's like 150, 200 men, whatever. Maybe, I don't remember how many it is. A lot of guys. And we're all, at parade rest in front of our lockers. And he's going down inspecting. He stops at me. Always, like the other guys, he just walks right by. But me, always fucking stop. He stops in front of me and says, open up your UA drawer, Thornton. Open up your drawer. So it's a combination lock. I open it up. He opens up the drawer, reaches in there, and he goes, oh, so you're a Mormon, huh? I hate fucking Mormons. I hate fucking Mormons. And I wasn't really a Mormon. I just got baptized because I was getting free cookies and Kool-Aid. And I needed something to do on Sunday instead of cleaning the barracks. But it kind of offended me, And then he takes them and he goes, I hate fucking Mormons. He throws them on the floor. The Book of Mormon, Principles of the Gospel on the floor. And again, all this anger I had from everything that was going on, I think going all the way back to Cincinnati when I think about it. It was just in there. Sometimes when you're a young man, you get anger, and it's like a poison you can't get out. And it just pissed me off that what he did. And I didn't even think about it. I had the padlock in my hand, and I just swung at him, and I hit him in the jaw. But since I had the padlock in my hand, which I didn't even realize I had, I knocked him out cold. And he's just laying there on the ground out cold. All the other guys are like still parade rest. And I just walk out of the barracks. I don't know where the fuck I'm going to go or what I'm going to do. And these guys came and got me again, blue helmets, yellow stripes. And I go to another captain's mast. They'd seen me before. Tell my story, exactly what happened. No lies, no exaggeration. My view of what happened, of the incident. And they didn't make any, they put me in legal hold. They were going to send me to legal hold, which was like another company where for guys that were in trouble they were doing whatever they could to get out. It was like misfits. It was like the company of misfit soldiers, sailors. And they sent me there. And so I go there, and the company commander there sitting behind his desk. They bring me in, 2 guards with me, They didn't handcuff me or nothing. And I remember this guy. He looked like Henry Fonda. Looked just like Henry Fonda. And so they leave me there in front of him, standing there at attention. And they leave. And he looks up at me. He says, so you punched your company commander, huh? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, if you punch me or you attack me, he reaches into his drawer, pulls out a billy club and slams it. Goes, I'm going to hit you in the head with this fucking billy club. He pulls out a straitjacket. I'm going to put you in the straitjacket. I'm going to throw you in that fucking closet, and you're going to spend the next week there. And then then all of a sudden it's like the anger's gone. He goes, so son, tell me what happened. And I tell him honestly, no lies, no nothing. He says, okay, we're going to have an inspection here in 20 minutes. Go to your rack. Get your stuff squared away out of my bag of shit. And there's going to be an inspection. So I go there. I make my bunk up perfectly. I do my clothes as best I can perfectly, for me. And the other guys, they don't even fucking care. Like, they're not making their bunks, their uniforms are all screwed. Some have even drawn fucking stripes on their shirt. You know, they don't care at all, these guys. When it comes and inspects the barracks, I'm standing there at attention. My stuff looks 1,000 times better than anybody else's in there. And he makes me, I forget the title of it, but I got a little pen with an eagle on it, some stripes to put on my collar. And basically I was in charge of, he put me in charge of all these other guys. I was now the boss, I got promoted. and so, you know, these guys are all in different stages of trying to get out of the military. And so we had to go different places. Like we went to Chow. I had to march them to Chow. I would take them, we had to get inoculations. That's when there was a swine flu out or something. I remember them giving us all the inoculations. And they'd line us up, we'd go down, they'd give you a shot in this arm, then they'd give you a shot in that arm. And since I was in charge, I didn't get no shots. I decided to work it for those guys. And so it was working out okay, you know. And we had to do, I had to do, what do you call it, 4-hour watches. So once a day you had a 4-hour watch, and sometimes in the middle of the night. And they gave me a 4-hour watch in the officers' barracks one time. And it's really easy, all you do is just go there and you just walk in, you know, around the building at night where the guys are all asleep, all the officers are asleep. And there's clipboards, you have to like write your name on a clipboard and your number on the clipboard. And that's it, you know, nice and easy. But it's for 4 hours, you're losing 4 hours of sleep. And while I was in there, I was just thinking, God, I'm so bored. I'm just so bored with this. You know, it's such a mistake being here. I just wish I could have a drink or get high or something, you know. And my psychic abilities kicked in. And this, I swear to God, this happened. I'm in the men's room of the officers' barracks, and I'm just like, clear mind. And I look up, there's a vent, like a register. I push the vent open, whole ounce of marijuana, whole fucking ounce. Close it, put it in my pocket. Now, you can't just smoke pot in boot camp because they're gonna smell it, right? So I took it back to the barracks, and again, it's pretty lax in my barracks, not like, you know, the other ones where they're watching everything you do. We had a lot of free time too. We weren't doing all the training because they know they were gonna kick us out. So anyways, I started chewing it like chewing tobacco, and you got really high chewing it, so I was high for the rest of the time I was in there, which was okay. And then my friend Richard, the one that I mentioned in my last video, he lived in California and San Diego, and his father, who had gotten killed in a plane crash, used to go to Balboa Base, and Richard knew his way in and out. He'd been going there when he was a kid before they moved to Cincinnati. And so I called him on a payphone one day, and he said, yeah, I'll come get you. I said, well, I can't really get away. And I found out that on certain times of the morning, there was a van that went from the boot camp over to the hospital in Balboa for guys that had like minor problems or whatever. And so I acted like I hurt my knee, and they said, okay, you go in the van and you're gonna go to the hospital, you know, at 7 o'clock in the morning. You go there, they'll put like 4 or 5 guys in there, take you over, they drop you off, you're all on your own, you go and get the doctor, sees you, and sends you, okay, you're fine, go back. And that's what happened. I got there, Balboa, they look at me and said, there's nothing wrong with you, go back. But the van runs every hour until like 6 o'clock at night. And so instead of getting in the van and going back to basic training, my friend Richard came and picked me up. I hopped in back of his car like I'm escaping from prison. He had clothes for me. And we went out and went to Black's Beach. I met a girl, got laid. Had a great day. Had a great day. And he dropped me off just in time to get the final van back. And I brought some Playboy magazines and some candy and some other stuff with me back, you know, and gave it to all the guys. And I was like a hero that I'd gotten out of basic training. And so then a couple weeks goes by and things are going okay. I'm actually like kind of enjoying my position now, even though I'm in like called legal hold. It was really kind of limbo. Like a lot of these guys were getting out for various reasons or being thrown out, and they were going through the process. And some of them had other problems with the military. Well, the Mormons had heard what had happened. The LDS had heard about what happened, and they were fighting for me. I didn't even know this was going on, but there's this big battle saying, well, you know, there should be some kind of a hearing or whatever, and it's discrimination, da-da-da. And they just decided, the Navy decided they just wanted to to sort this out. And they brought me into this room one day with this guy and said, well, Mark, you've got a guaranteed job program. They're willing to forget any problems that you had here. They're willing to give you $700. The Navy's going to give you $700, which is a lot of money back then, and an honorable discharge. And you'll be free. And I didn't even have to think about it. I said, where do I sign? Signed my name and got out. And Richard picked me up and went and stayed at his folks' house. But a big part of me really was disappointed in a way, because I really wanted it to work out. But it was like one of those things that wasn't meant to be. It's like I kept hitting a wall. Every time I try and fit in, I couldn't fit in. Like a couple of weeks later, I was able to get my records. There's a Freedom of Information or something. I forget how I did it, but I got my records, like a file. And on it was a stamp that says, does not respond well to authority. That's what it said about me. And so that's my story about Montana and basic training. So when I said, mentioned before, something about the military, I said, oh, are you a veteran? No, I'm no veteran. I was just in there for a very short amount of time, matter of, I don't know how many months it was, I lost track. You remember Don Rickles, the comedian? He had a TV show. This is when I was first there, when I was with doing the flag company before I got in trouble. And he was filming the opening scene of his TV show. And they filmed like the soldiers march, or the sailors marching at the base there, because it had to do with, he was like a company commander in Balboa. It's the theme of the show. You can look it up. I don't remember what the title was. But anyway, when they filmed that, they filmed me marching. So if you want to see me in the Navy, if you find that show, the opening things, they playing the music and the guys are marching, I'm in there. You'll see me. So anyway, that's it with that story. In California, lots of crazy shit happened. I ended up managing a hotel that was basically occupied by criminals. And so maybe I'll tell you that story next time. Thank you for your comments, guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for all your nice things you've said. And hope to see you again. I've got some really good interviews coming up with I got a guy right out of a Hemingway novel that I'll be releasing that video maybe tonight. So thanks, guys. Bye.